We'll also keep the bio short. What you need to know about the diversity of Gabby is that she recommended the #1 spot to get donuts in Maine and made me promise in exchange to bring back green tea cookies from Japan. So, Gabby.
Good morning, everybody. That's a fair introduction. I can easily be bribed with food. So if you want to get engaged with what we're doing, cookies and donuts are a pretty sure bet. Good morning. I'm really thrilled to be here this morning. This is my second time working with Bloomberg. I think this is a really powerful format for engaging the majority in the conversation about diversity and inclusion. I spend a lot of time talking about this. I'm really passionate about it, but I'm always talking to the same people over and over and over again. So I just want to commend Bloomberg for putting this up on a platform. I'm a mixed child. I have a straight white male dad who is really excited about diversity. And he's going to be mad that I'm using him as an example all the time. But I know how he receives information, and he regularly reads Bloomberg. And so he actually informed me that I was speaking here today, which was helpful. Because it's just popping up on his radar. And I think in order to engage people, like we have to meet them on their level, and we have to give them a safe space to think about these issues. I want to talk about inspiring accountability, and I'm really glad that that's the name of our program this morning, because I think we can be inspired by the good work that's being done. I think we're really bogged down in the negative messaging about diversity. So our communications department provides a breakdown of all of the articles about diversity in the profession. And every other department gets a really great one, like lawyers, never been a better time to be a lawyer. Mine, our law firms still fail to promote minority and women attorneys, still struggling with diversity problem. That's not inspiring, and it's not motivating. And it's my job to open those and read those, and I struggled to do it. So we've been collecting and analyzing the diversity metrics of about 130 signatory law firms for more than a decade at the City Bar, and reporting this data out. And if you want to talk about uninspiring, I'm a big data nerd, but those numbers, just from a statistical standpoint, are moving at a glacial pace. Women partners are the fastest moving category in our data, and they're moving at 0.3% every year. So if we want to see progress, we should probably not look at the numbers. So we took a good look at our survey, and we're really challenged by the fact that we had this great platform to provide information on what was happening in the profession, but our report didn't reflect that. Our report was just showing that standard 0.3% or worse representation of attorneys at critical levels in firms. So in 2015, after 10 years of this, we just took a look at the survey, thought about the relationships that we have with firms that were doing really great work, and incorporated a qualitative element. So we added a qualitative question on the survey where firms could put in a better practice that they had applied and metrics to support that. We use better practices because I refuse to use the word best practices when that best moving data point is still at 19.7% of women, of partners in New York's best firms are women. And for the first time last year when we took a look at that, I'm really glad the woman from Verizon pointed this out, 89% of those women are white women. And so when you look at all the women partners in New York's best firms, Black and African American women make up 0.5%, and Hispanic women make up 0.3%. So, we do have a problem that needs to be solved, but that's not the case for every single firm. Firms were making progress, they had really great initiatives in place, and for some reason this information wasn't being shared, and we weren't encouraging people to foster collaboration. So what we did in the report was looked at these better practices, we looked at how they compared to the aggregate data. We then mined the better practices. So if a firm had something in place, like a sponsorship program for women, we looked to see if their representation of women partners was higher than other firms that didn't have it. We looked to see if the attrition of women at the 5th, 6th, and 7th year associate class was lower than other firms. And it worked. It was true. So what we wanted to do was share better practices in a general way. So we took all of the recommendations that we had that had some metric movement on the back end of it and bulleted them in the report. And then we just really wanted to showcase and motivate people to look at what firms were doing that was actionable and impactful. So we then highlighted specific programs that they were doing. I think this is really important. I think it changes the conversation. Like, you're excited to get involved in something that works, that's going well, right? And then also, who's going to board the Titanic? Nobody. So if I'm like, help me solve diversity's problem, you're probably going to run away from me. I know this. I've been doing diversity metrics for 10 years. No one runs out of room faster when I'm in it. I sit down in a meeting and the tone totally changes and they're like, what did I do? I'm like, I'm the happiest, most optimistic person you've ever met. But when you say to people like, look, we have this awesome program, it's making progress, people feel really great about it, you can talk to associates who are benefiting from it, be part of this like very positive solution. Lo and behold, people get engaged. Who gets engaged? My dad. My dad will get on board with something that he feels like he can be like, we're making progress in. So what I wanted to do today was have a conversation with all of you. If you know me, I'm the youngest child, heavily caffeinated New Yorker. I love talking. I could talk all day long. For some funny reason, Bloomberg brought me in to let you talk to me, which I'm thrilled about. So we're going to do breakout discussions. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about how you're thinking about better practices. I know you are. We did 30 hours of qualitative research, and people were like, our firm does this. We know other firms do this. Outside organizations are doing this, and we love it. So we really want to talk about what you see as inspirational, what you'd like for your firm or corporation to be doing, and then what you're actually doing now. And then we'll talk in specifics and breakout groups and report back to the group. I really encourage you, I think specificity matters. I think saying we're doing this and this is what we've seen as progress is really important. Those numbers might be small. You might have done this for 1 year. It might be new. You might have limited engagement in it. But just share as much as you can so that people can write it down, take it back to their firms and say, have we thought of this? Could we try this? Would you like this? Would this make your experience different? When we look at metrics, we're looking at numbers. I spend my day looking at numbers all the time. I think often we forget there's people behind that, and their experiences in the firms matter. And we're moving into this year's associate class will make your entire associate class millennial lawyers who have access to information. They talk. They no longer need to use the same platforms to elevate their careers as we did, right? Like they can go on LinkedIn and connect with an in-house counsel automatically. Not only that, they can find a friend who would be happy to do that introduction for them. So we just need to think differently about how to elevate their careers, enhance their experiences in the firms. And I think then we're setting the foundation for a really great movement in some of these metrics going forward. So I'm also, speaking of millennials, a bad one, and I think I'm supposed to do a poll. So in front of you, you have these. Before we get started, I just want to know who's in a law firm in this room? Cool. And then who's in-house? Yeah. So I really, this isn't, again, I'm the bad guy. Everybody is like, don't tell people what you're doing in-house, because the law firms are going to take it and then keep their people. Ultimately, we need to think about somebody going into an organization that they feel is a great fit for their career. That's a law firm, awesome. If it's not, also awesome. Let's trust in their process to go to law school, to get into the profession, and to pave their own career path. But I really do think those are powerful ways that we could share. We all know that lawyers don't go in-house because they're making abundantly more money, right? They're going in because the culture is different, because they see more people who look like them, because they see actions in place. So I think those conversations, if you don't have an in-house person at your table, steal one of these. And just make sure that we're having those conversations both in here today and then when we leave the room. Talk to your clients about what they're doing and how they can help you drive change in your organizations. So let's talk first about what you're doing, what's prioritized in your organization. When we were looking at better practices, like I said, we were talking about attorney development. The only way to interrupt bias truly in the profession is put good lawyers consistently in front of leadership all the time, no matter who they are. It will change the way they think about women and minority attorneys because they're not thinking about that anymore. They just have an excellent team. So affinity bias can be interrupted when you have skill development and you're building competencies of lawyers that drive value back to the firm and to the client. So attorney development opportunities. Are you looking at client matter team makeup and your client relationships? Are you doing internal training on implicit bias? How many of you have implicit bias training in your organizations? Keep your hand up if you offer it more than once a year. Keep your hand up if you offer it 3 times a year. Cool. Talk to Joe. Talk to Drew. That matters. That's important. You need to teach people how. We sat in a room the other day and asked 200 lawyers how many of them have taken an IAT. Guess how many took it? 7. 7 people knew what their blind spots were. And when you do that sort of training, they can act more impactfully. Increasing the pipeline of candidates to your firm, recruitment and retention, or your overall leadership representation. So what I want you to do now is press This is funny that I'm telling you how to do this. You're going to press the number next to your number one choice of what you're actually doing within your firms or corporations now, and then press send. If I can do it, you can do it. And I am going to do it. So we're focused on 3, press send. And then you're going to offer your second choice. So your top 2 categories of prioritization for diversity and inclusion efforts. It's giving us a countdown. Who's excited for the results? I'm super competitive. All right, so number 1 is attorney development. Awesome. That was very clear on the panel this morning that every single better practice could be applied back to making sure that A, you're developing your talent, and B, they know you're developing them. They feel valued. They feel like you're interested in their career development. 4 is increasing your pipeline of diverse candidates, recruitment, retention efforts. I'd be really curious when you're talking amongst yourselves at your table, how much of that is recruitment? Because I think we're good on that. We've got good data coming out of law school classes, but how many of you are really drilling down on keeping that talent in the firm, knowing who they are, and helping them build action plans within their firms? Client matter team makeup. This is important. Who's staffed on your matters, and what do they do? Are you staffing people on your matters just to be like, no, we got a diverse team? Because again, when you're thinking about those lawyers, somebody's going to tell you what they're doing. So if you have your in-house client coming in and saying, cool, you know, I'm so glad you're on my team. What do you do? The person's like, all doc review all the time. Or, no, I'm being led and mentored through this client relationship so that ultimately I'm in the succession plan for this matter when this person leaves. And then 5, leadership representation. This is big. I'd like to see a little bit more prioritization of this because all the important decisions right now are being made. You know, 75% of partners in the New York firms from our data are white men. So until we interrupt that bias, until we get that kind of perfect mix between the two, you're just relying on a lot of affinity bias. It's not negative. It's just, I think of this all the time. Who's the next best person for this job? Who's the first best? Me. Who's the next best? Looks like me, reminds me of me, acts like me. That's not bad, but that's what we're doing. So if 75% of decision makers are doing that, we really need to actively interrupt it. And third, yikes, Kentucky Derby, implicit bias in internal trainings. Let's do better on this. Let's prioritize this. It's a really easy way to get people comfortable with the discomfort of these conversations. And there's a tremendous amount of resources. I like to slide like the Google implicit bias video to people that I think would benefit from it. And I just BCC them. I'm like, watch this, it's awesome. They don't even know what the IAT is, and they take it. I have been active in diversity and inclusion for 10 years. I get paid to do this. I'm a mixed race child, and I'm a woman in the profession. I still fail the IAT every time I take it. It is like, I provide it as a party trick. I'm like, watch me. And it's like, you have a strong preference for men in profession and women in family. I'm like, something's wrong with computer. But it just shows people how you have to slow down your thought processes, because when we rely on these pre-established filters to act, that comes up. All right, so let's go to the next poll of what do you wish you were doing? So this gives us a lay of the land, what's going on in firms. But now let's talk about what you wish you were doing. So you're going to do the same. You're going to rank the top 2 by typing in the number and pressing send. And this gets a little bit more specific. Are you tracking origination credit, pitch team, and case leads for minority and women attorneys? Do you set goals for management team profiles? Do you provide financial incentives for meeting diversity targets? This is all over the news. It was impossible to avoid Ricardo and Zaldua at MetLife and HP and Facebook, who too are working through their own progress. But what's interesting about Ricardo's initiative is they tried this internally. And then they said, we're going to give you the model for it. We're going to walk you through it, coach you through it. And then, we're going to keep you staffed on our matters if you do the same. Provide non-financial recognition for meeting diversity targets. Are you celebrating the things that you're doing? Going back to that specificity, like how do people know what's happening in the firm so that they can get involved in it? Financial consequences for failing to meet diversity targets. I don't like to use the word targets, actually. I like to use goals. Providing and asking for feedback on diversity concerns. How do you know what the experience of people within your organization are. People aren't going to share that very comfortably. They don't want to burn bridges, right? So if you're like, oh, so-and-so left because he got a better opportunity. Did he? Do you have a feedback loop that allows you to aggregate the information so that you have a better sense of the experiences of your employees and your colleagues? RFPs and pitches, our clients holding you accountable on this. Provide sponsorship programs and opportunities to expand practice area expertise. This is very specific. This is not mentoring. Are you building the brand and the business opportunity for minority and women associates? And then develop objective feedback and evaluation methods. So your top two, let's see what you wish you were doing. These are a little bit more aspirational. You probably haven't thought about it or tried it. They're going to be a little bit harder to implement. We call these courageous acts. Like, there are very easy things you can do to eliminate bias and foster inclusion within your organization. These are a little tougher, right? These have some teeth to them. So your top two. We got a countdown. And again, these data points are not random. We didn't select these ideas just because we thought they were good ideas. These are things that firms have really thought about, tried, seen a tiny bit of movement on, and then come back to us and been like, this worked. We think other firms should do this. We saw some progress with it. All right, so let's see who won. I can't see. I'm sorry. Sylvia and Hewitt said, I can't wear my glasses. So I'm like, 8, sponsorship programs and opportunities to expand practice area expertise. Awesome. I'm so happy to see that be your first aspirational goal. Because it's really like one thing to support and encourage associates, or young lawyers. It's another to like put them in the path of opportunity and success. Financial consequences, y'all are really tough. Whew. I cringed when I said that, and you guys are all like, we're gonna put 5 in first. So, good to know.
Are you going to share the slides?
Yeah, we can make these available for you. I think Bloomberg, thank you. Blanket permission to share Bloomberg's IP. 2, set goals for management team profiles. 3, develop objective evaluation and feedback methods. Cool. Know what you're going into, right? Like, you need to know take the pulse and the temperature of your organization. I'm coming for you guys. I just can't see this screen either. 7, integrate diversity metrics on RFPs. We've seen that has some movement, right? But now that we have the model ABA resolution survey, now you just got like a standard template so that you can be like, nope, yes. And then with the yes, you can be like, here's what matters to our corporation. I think it's just much more valuable. Who in law firms, sorry, just by a show of hands, who in law firms is responsible for or connected to the survey process? It is so laborious. I sat down with our survey just to test it and fill in fake information. It took me 4 hours. So you're counting on your staff to put this stuff together. We need to streamline that process. I think that's an excellent opportunity. 4, provide non-financial recognition. 3, incentives. So you guys came around. You're like, let's carrot and stick. Stick first, carrot next. 1, track origination, credit, pitch team, and case leads comes in almost last. And then 6, ask for feedback. You know, that feedback element's important. So I think all of these are good. I like the order of this prioritization. What we're going to do now is break out into discussions and talk about this specifically. I want you to come away with action items that will inspire everyone in the room. Don't stand up and give the same idea as the person before. All of you have a discussion group leader at your table. Can you just raise your hand? Show who it is. Joe's laughing because he's going to share the same idea just to make me mad. Your discussion group leader is going to take your information. I think we're going to talk for 10 minutes, and then we'll report back, share best practices. I have to assign you tables. Hold on. I had a good millennial put this iPad in my hand this morning and be like, read this. All right, so tables 1 and 1 right here. You're going to talk about measures, like what's good to measure. I think you have talking points in front of you and questions. But what's valuable and what's worthwhile. 2 and 2. You're going to talk about incentives, financial incentives and penalties. I think you guys are going to talk about penalties based on the survey data, but please surprise me. I'd be delighted to talk about better things. 3, 3, and 3. You're going to talk about the ROI. Do you track the hard costs of diversity programs? How do you do that effectively? And then 4, reporting. 4 and 4. How do you make it public? How do you share this information in a meaningful way in order to motivate and get people involved in them. So everybody has their topics. You have 10 minutes to talk amongst yourselves. We're going to come back to the group. The report's going to come back with actionable suggestions that everybody here will copy and bring back, all right? Let's do this.